What's up, guys? It's Herbie. Welcome back to the Herb and Peach channel. This is vlog number 28. I hope you're doing well out there.
I'm dying. Help me.
In this vlog, we're gonna go over just a little bit, just a really quick recap of what's been going on this last week. It's been pretty steady, so not much to report on there. But we're gonna spend most of the blog talking about these revelations that I've been having while I've been taking my test for this tutoring thing. It's going well, don't worry. And then there'll be like a little body map update towards the end as well, just to show what's been going on with that for you body map fanatics.
What the
Yeah. Okay, so this past week it's been pretty steady. I've thankfully got to practice with Nelson over the weekend. Here's a little bit of that. Delivering flowers, you know the deal. Bonding / getting way better at Overwatch, hopefully.
You sure about that? You sure about that?
It's been good, steady but good. Anyway, so on to this test, right? I've been taking this Java, well now I'm taking this Java version of this computer science principles test so that I could do some tutoring, which, a story for another time, would be a great opportunity, but that's what I'm going towards right now at this immediate second. So I've always known some tendencies about myself, but never this highlighted. When I'm just such a bad test taker. So for any of you test takers out there, hope maybe you can relate, dude. It's just like, I don't know if the problems just like come out of left field. I look at these problems, but like, dude, they're nothing like these practice problems. What's going on, dude? Like, it's like you're doing well in these practice problems, and you're like, yeah, I'm gonna kick ass. And then you get to like the test, and it's like, oh my gosh, it's like similar format, but then they throw in like all these, like, they don't hold any punches back. They just throw all these different types of like variables where it's like hard to even understand what the heck the problem is even asking. It's like, dude, I could solve this problem logically, but like I have to first decipher what the heck this guy's even trying to ask with this like 500 word problem. Like, what's going on here? But admittedly so, that's not so much of a problem on their part. I mean, give and take, it's debatable depending on the test, you know? But I'm taking it upon myself to be like, okay, what's wrong with me? And I did notice that I could be taking way harder practice tests, you know? I'm just like, dude, why did I spend so much of my time studying like in a vacuum, like a hyperbolic time chamber?
It's hot. There's less air. And the gravity is different.
Rest in peace, Toriyama. When I'm just like studying like in space, like floating. I'm like, yeah, maybe this stuff will be on the test. Whoa, look at all this new info. Man, that's great. Spend like an hour reading that. Wow, that was cool. I learned that thing. Is it gonna be on the test? Who the hell if I know? And I'm just like, dude, what the heck are you doing, Herbie? Just take practice tests and use that as your study guide, right? I know. Very simple, brain dead stupid. That's me. So I was like, okay, I'm just gonna start taking practice tests, and then what I don't do well on, that's what I study, right? That seems pretty obvious after the fact, but like I said, terrible test taker, always have been.
Can't accept that. Okay.
And that's probably why. So, bringing me on to my point. So, I've been taking these tests.
I'm dying. Help me.
Studying for these tests. And during my time studying, I just was noticing so much about myself. You know, I mean, that's kind of been like my pattern, is like any event or occurrence, I'm like, wow, this really applies to my whole life. And I don't know if that's just cope or like I'm just distracting myself to cope with the fact that like I'm lost or, you know, whatever. But it is interesting to me this particular time. I do that with like everything. I'm always just like, wow, this is really like profound for my whole life. Wow. As above, so below, as some of you might hear me saying all the time, which is just like, how you do one thing is how you do everything, or like the same pattern that you see in one place exists at every scope of it. You just have to look for it. I really do believe in that. The whole how you do one thing is how you do everything, and so it simplifies life, makes life more meaningful, and less like you're just grasping for straws, but rather you're seeing like patterns, like transform into other forms, and you're like, oh dude, I know what to do here, or I know what this looks like, or I know what this is, I know what I'm dealing with. Cool. Anyway, so as some of you might know, or may or may not know, online in the past I've gone by like the alias of like many aliases. I'm sure all of you have, you know, Shy Pinoy Boy, A58 kind of stuff, mystical, Hellblood Demon, you know. Callisto, you know, whatever cool names you want to come up with yourself as a kid. But then later, one of the aliases that I went by, you guys might go by cool aliases, right? Mine aren't so cool, but are not so cool. One of them was like reverse, right? Reverse. As above, so below. I'm seeing all these patterns while I'm taking this test, and I've never been a good test taker. I was sitting there observing myself as I was taking the test, you know, as usual, just like not trying to overreact to what was going on in the test or whatever. Not trying to overreact to what I was noticing, but just taking a backseat to how I was feeling and like noticing my patterns, my little knee-jerk reactions, and saying, huh, okay, that's interesting that I do that. Like, I can go super deep into it. I'll try not to because I'm gonna try to keep this short. You know, just small things like noticing that like when I would read the first word of the sentences, like my eyes would already be trying to like read the next line already. It's as though my brain has been like traumatized or conditioned into wanting to take a test fast, quickly, like take shortcuts. And so here brings me to my point. Me being a bad test taker, right? Is I was noticing how that was. In what way was I a bad test taker? Well, I noticed that I was always just trying to take shortcuts.
You can take a shortcut, take a shortcut, you can take a shortcut.
So it's as though it's like reading and what that looks like is like reading the problem way too fast, where I'm like, after I read the first 3 lines, I sit back and I'm like, wait, I didn't really grasp what it's asking. Partly because it's like computer science stuff, so sometimes the sentences are so dense with so much meaning, it's like assuming that int has been initialized properly as an int, and assuming that B is an array of type string, and assuming a blah 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 blah, evaluate this expression in a condition in which Y is not true. And you're just like, what the F?
What the?
Dude, like, and then it gives you the actual problem that you have to look at, but that was just like that was just the setup, and then you look at the code, and you're like, gosh, you're like, each one of these things has to be so freaking on point. Like, okay, it's an int, okay, and then that thing is like a string, but what kind of string? Is it like a, or you're looking at the integer, you're like, okay, that's an integer, okay, but is it of the class integer, or is it the type int? And then like, okay, you gotta like log that. Anyway, it's like all very important, like it's very detail oriented, right? And so part of it is due to that, and then another part is I could just tell, just watching my body and watching the way my body reacts, and separating myself from that, and like sitting there like I'm watching a movie, right, of my own experience, and watching how my body chooses to behave about certain things. I could just notice that my eyes would just scan really fast, and then I'd sit there and I'm like, dude, I didn't process any of that properly, so I have to read it again. And then my eyes glaze over again. I'm like, dude, this is difficult, dude. It's like I have to, is that dyslexia or something?
You sure about that?
Anywho, so speaking about bad test taking, my point being is that there are particular ways that it looks like, and one of the ways that I've been exhibiting or been noticing about myself, and you're just, once you see it once you see it when you're like conscious, you're like, dang, how long has this been going on throughout my whole life? So flashbacks, and I'm like thinking that I'm not even high, dude. I'm like, what? I'm like experiencing this, and I'm like, dang, how much has this happened in my life? So is that cope because I'm just like stressed out at that time, or anxious about this test, or is that me just I guess it could be, like I'm just sitting there like getting distracted by like, whoa, has this been happening my whole life? Is that really how I've been taking tests? So is that me having profound moments, or is that me choosing to be distracted at that time? You be the judge. No, but this happens all the time. But particularly what I've noticed is that my style, I guess, is that I will try to jump to the end of the problem often to see what the problem's asking first, and then try to quote unquote reverse it, go to the beginning, right? And try to decode what I'm trying to answer correctly. Going about all these problems like in reverse, right? Reverse, hence reverse, right? I've never been a good test taker. I take shortcuts when I'm trying to answer these questions, and then I like read the question in reverse, basically. I'm like applying these test taking tactics to the tests instead of just being prepared for the test so that I could read the questions properly and then answer them with the correct answer. I noticed that about myself, and that was freaking amazing. I was like, dude, that's crazy. Like, my whole test taking behavior was animated by the idea of looking as though I can take this test and kill that test. Like the appearance of passing the test with flying colors. I can tell that I was traumatized, or the way that I had gone through life and was raised to go through life. I don't blame it emotionally, but I can see that what it was is that like my whole mentality, my whole motif about taking these tests was all backwards, reversed.
Put it in reverse, Terry! Put it in reverse! Oh, Lord! Lord, Jesus! Oh, Lord! Oh, Jesus! What you doing, Terry? Terry, what's wrong?
Like everything in my life, right? Reverse. It was all backwards. I was so focused on like the appearance of taking these tests properly, or I was so focused on like the appearance of me of acing these tests, of doing really well in these tests, instead of just properly being prepared for the test. Bah! I mean, history in acting, history in wanting to like appear a certain way. It all just comes together now. I'm just like, oh, that's where it all, or maybe that's not where it all stems from, but that root is evident in like everything that I do. So I was like noticing that about myself, that I was like, had all these strategies to make it look like I was so good at taking tests, but I wasn't, because the real way to be good at taking tests is to know what's going to be on the test by taking practice tests, and then just being prepared by studying a lot. Instead, I was applying all these like makeshift MacGyver ways of like trying to trick the test into giving me a high score, like.
You are so stupid.
Am I?
Idiot!
Oh, like, okay, what is the question trying to ask? Okay, let me quickly decipher the fastest way to find that solution without actually like reading the whole context of the test, so I could move on, so I could look like I passed this test really fast. It's like something I was obsessed with when I was a kid, because we were taking all these standardized tests, and it's like, oh, you just want to look like you just want to look like one of the smart kids in class, you know? But those test taking strategies are valid if you're like really at your wit's end and you can't find a solution. But if you just prepare, it's way better. Do things the right way, in the right order, from the ground up, building the knowledge from the ground up so that you're ready for any kind of problem, instead of just being unexpected with the problem and then trying to like MacGyver and trick these problems into giving you the proper answer. It just don't work. Don't work in real life. Maybe on those like really easy standard tests as kids, but like when you get to real stuff, it don't work. I'm sure that I've never applied this all the time, but it really was just so obvious to me in these specific last few days. So that's just what I want to share. It's mind-blowing to me just seeing like boom, like all these old behavior patterns that I'm now able to see and just sit back and not overreact to, so that I can see them, and then as soon as you see them, they start to correct on its own.
You sure about that?
So that's been amazing. Thank you guys for checking out this vlog. Oh yeah, here's some body map stuff. These are a few of the body map videos lately. And I'll leave you with that. I hope you have a fantastic day. Thank you for coming through to this vlog. I know it's a little bit different this time. I was kind of just like sharing something I was really excited about finding out, but I hope that you guys find something super exciting about yourself every day, so that you can continue to be the best version of yourself and all that kind of good stuff. Have a fantastic day. Stay beautiful out there. Be good. And thank you for viewing the Herb and Peach channel. This is Herbie. We'll see you in the next vlog or in the next video. Take care. Be good to yourself. Big love.